Bob and Lisa Cranmer made a lowball offer on this Century home near Pittsburgh. They expected some haggling.
And it was like, sold. I said, wow, okay, that's great.
A dream come true for the former councilman and his young family.
Countless times I can recall as a child standing on the sidewalk, just staring at the house.
6 fireplaces, 3 stories, with one terrifying secret lurking inside. Although in the beginning, it seemed harmless.
The radio would be on, water would be running in the sink, things that you kind of got used to.
Bob says the unexplained activity continued for 10 years.
It had untied the rosary bead, put it on a hook.
Then suddenly intensified in 2003.
We'd wake up on a regular basis with scratches and bite marks. This thing was out to hurt us.
Bob and Lisa turned to the Catholic Church, hoping a priest could bless the property and solve the problem. But instead, he says, everything escalated, turning into an all-out war between good and evil.
It would mangle and break the crosses on the rosaries, crosses around our necks. They would be bent in half.
One diabolical act after another, says Bob.
There we go.
He says the worst was this manifestation of a foul substance splattered on the walls.
There's some of it there. Over the whole house.
Lab tests were inconclusive.
We're not sure what it is. It's some type of fluid, but we found skin cells in it.
A number of dramatic things went on here.
Adam Bly has a master's degree in clinical psychology and is a former skeptic turned expert demonologist and advisor for the Roman Catholic Church, performing and training priests in exorcism. Adam says, while demons are insidious entities,
they do enjoy conflict, pain, chaos, breaking families apart. They're very sadistic creatures.
Which is why, he says, an exorcist's work must be voluntary and solitary.
We'll take revenge on those that are close to us if they can't take revenge on us.
And as soon as he entered the house, he knew something was wrong with the closet.
There's that gut level, really strong feeling that there's something there. I remember saying, "You're in there, I know you're in there."
So they cut through the plaster wall.
It had never been opened since the house was built, and found some things in there that did seem to be indicative of some very strange, possibly dark stuff.
Inside this sealed-off, unvented void were items from all of the home's owners, including the Cranmers.
Some of my son's Lego toys. How they got in there and why, we don't know.
Exorcists helped the Cranmers fight back, but there were serious consequences.
My 2 sons were in psychiatric hospitals. My wife spent several weeks in a psychiatric ward.
There's a lot of nightmarish stuff you have to go through.
Adam says exorcising demons is difficult because if they're present, it's with permission.
So God allows a homeowner to choose to have a home be blessed. Well, the opposite can also be true.
He says board games or other tools used to contact spirits are like an open invitation.
They will literally mimic whatever your weak spot is, whether you like the idea of guardian angels or your grandmother or sick children.
As was the case recently in Indiana. A little boy first said he had a secret friend, but very soon police reported seeing the child walk up a wall.
Once that process starts, that demon has been given license to do more.
But the Cranmers did none of that. However, they believe someone else did, because inside that secret crawl space was a sketch of the original owners in 1909.
On the back of that paper were these very malicious, or I should say evil-looking descriptions that you could tell were put on there by somebody else, possibly by one of the workmen.
3 years after discovering that, in 2006, Bob says the demon finally left.
It was somewhat like a blazing fire that eventually burned itself out.
Pretty much all the major religious systems in the world have seen this problem. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
Both men understand skeptics exist, but they insist so does evil.
And if people don't want to believe it, okay, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. It exists. That's why I'm telling the story.
But deliver us from evil.
De los demonios que la atormentaban. Jairo Castillo con el reporte.
Este fin de semana, nuestro corresponsal de Acción 10, Danilo Muñoz, dio a conocer...
A 43-year-old woman living in Tipitapa, located in western Nicaragua, was tormented for 3 months by demons.
Con los amigos, vecinos y familiares del barrio San Jorge de Tipitapa. Su comportamiento es agresivo. Lo que tenga en mano se lo lanza a las personas que la visitan en su humilde vivienda.
Her behavior was aggressive, throwing anything in her reach at people in her house. Then 2 priests from the nearby Christian mission arrived at her house to pray for her and free her from her demon. In the name of Jesus Christ, leave this woman, leave her in peace, leave her in peace. The priest prayed. After several hours of prayer, the woman showed a change from aggressive to calmer. Her friends said, thanks to God that they came to help her because it's what we needed. But, moments after reporters interviewed a neighbor wearing a white shirt, she can be seen having collapsed to the floor. Footage appeared to show the woman lying on the floor convulsing as a member of the church tries to pray over her.
You guys remember when Ouija boards were the big thing when we were kids? Apparently teens have this new way to scare themselves. This is called the Charlie Challenge. It's flying around the internet. Here's how it works. You get 2 pencils, you lay one over the other, you put them on a sheet of paper, and then you write yes and no in the 4 corners. You ask, Charlie, are you here? And if the top pencil moves and lands on yes, then apparently a demon named Charlie is in your house.
Parents, of course, have been warned to look out for a demonic game which has been making the rounds like wildfire in schools across the country. The game is called Charlie. It's played with 2 pencils placed across each other on a piece of paper on which yes and no words are written. The spirit of Charlie is then called up and asked questions, and Charlie responds by moving the pen.
Tras la conmoción vivida en el centro de salud de
22 schoolgirls, aged between 12 and 15, suffered mass demonic possession after playing a game of Charlie.
impotente porque ya son 4 los ataques que su hija ha presentado después de ese día.
The traumatic incident happened in the Choco region of Colombia. The children were screaming, writhing and hallucinating, and some were even foaming at the mouth. One victim claimed she could see a man dressed in black while possessed.
Cada casa de las jóvenes afectadas.
Oye, Charlie. ¿Podemos jugar contigo? Sí. Mañana. Me equivoqué.
Charlie, espérate, cállate. Charlie. ¿De qué color son los pateas a jugar?
Slenderman. A tall, faceless, mysterious figure, a fictional character who lurks in the background, sometimes peering over the shoulders of children. The story of Slenderman changing, evolving all the time, with help from fans all over the world, adding to the story online, giving this fictional character new life every day. Waukesha, Wisconsin, just outside Milwaukee, and on a Saturday morning this past May, a horrific tale, it's just beginning to emerge.
Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing has got blood on it.
Okay, and you found her and she was just laying there?
Yeah.
A birthday sleepover with 3 12-year-olds the night before, and now 2 girls are missing. The other, Peyton Leichner, has somehow crawled out of the woods, covered in stab wounds, 19 of them. She's now being wheeled into the operating room, having just told her mother her friends did this to her. Police say they were carrying clothes, granola bars, water bottles, one of the girls carrying a picture of her mother and father and siblings. She wanted to remember what they looked like after leaving her town for that imaginary mansion in the woods. Neither girl puts up a fight. Taken into custody, they would soon be questioned. They tell police they committed this crime in part out of their devotion to a character they discovered on the internet, Slenderman.
Right now, we're waiting to hear whether a 14-year-old girl will be charged as an adult for trying to kill her mother and her brother. Tonight we know she was looking at websites involving the fictional character Slenderman just before deputies say she set her home on fire after an argument. Investigators telling us late this afternoon they found a journal belonging to the teen. Among things they say the suspect wrote, quote, "If this keeps up, there will be no safety in this house. And Mom, if you ever find this before it happens, I'm sorry." We're also told she was influenced by violent online stories like Slenderman. One of her friends told us what's in those stories.
Very disturbing and violent things like murder, how to kill someone, you know, guns, knives, brutal.
Did you ever hear her talking about that thing?
Sometimes she would explain what happened in a story to someone.
We talked with the school district this afternoon. They say students cannot access those violent websites from school.
Kalamazoo County 911.
We just heard gunshots.
Kalamazoo County 911.
I'm at the Kalamazoo Cracker Barrel and there's been gunshots in the car.
I don't know, the car sped off, please.
The calls kept coming in that night as terror gripped Kalamazoo County. Desperate calls for help that emergency responders were able to learn in due time were all connected.
It's a blue HHR, dark blue, and it drove off right as we pulled up.
In one call, you can hear the caller trying to keep shooting victim Tiana Carruthers stabilized.
Please don't move. They coming, okay? Please don't move. We got the kids. Please don't move. Just stay there.
911 calls were part of a package of new information released about the Kalamazoo killings today. Police also released reports that detail Jason Dalton's bizarre behavior that night, a first clue that some of this was premeditated. After Carruthers was shot, police say Dalton switched out cars and spoke to his wife in the process. He gave her a handgun, told her she wasn't safe without it. He then told her that she wouldn't be going back to work and the kids wouldn't be going back to school. Told her, the report says, quote, she would see what he was talking about on the news. She last spoke with him at 8:30 that night before the murders took place.
Yeah, this report here was released by the Kalamazoo City Attorney's Office this afternoon, and it reveals some of the disturbing things that were said during the interviews in the hours after the mass killings. Dalton told police little at first, pleading the Fifth Amendment. But police kept pushing, saying the families of his victims and his family deserved answers. He softened a bit, saying he did not know a child had been shot and that he was sorry for that. But then it quickly turned bizarre. Dalton told police that the Uber app on his phone had taken over. He had only recently started driving for Uber and spent that night picking up and dropping off fares, all during that shooting spree. He said he saw the Eastern Star symbol, then the devil pop up on his phone through the Uber app. He described the devil as a quote-unquote horned cowhead that would give him assignments.
John Ramirez grew up in the Bronx, where his relatives practiced Santeria.
My father's side came from a family of witches and warlocks. My father was very heavy into Santeria, very heavy into spiritualism.
John longed for a relationship with his dad, but his father was abusive.
There was no love, there was no compassion. We watched him beat my mother in the house. He came in drunk most of the time, demanding stuff, asking for stuff. If things wasn't done a certain way, it was always put down, hurtful words, dummy, stupid, you're gonna amount to nothing. But he was connected to the demons. He was connected to spiritualism.
John's mother was also influenced by Santeria. At his aunt's suggestion, she took John to a tarot card reading.
The lady sent the cards. I had 30 days to do the ceremony or I would be blind. So my mother, as a good mother, didn't want nothing to happen to her son, so we did it. They blindfolded me, did a bath for me with herbs, and they started chanting and calling the 5 main god demons from Santeria.
From that moment, John's life changed.
My whole personality, everything who I stand for as a young boy, was no longer there. I wasn't answering not only to my mom and my dad, but I was answering to the demons.
John's involvement with Santeria deepened quickly.
I was being taught and trained with high-rank devil worshippers into spiritualism. I light up my candles. I spit the rum. I spit the cigar smoke. The cigar smoke means power. If I didn't have money for a rooster, I'd cut myself and use my own blood and pour it in. The whole atmosphere of the room changes. And you know there's something there. The devil told me that I had to go into the neighborhood in the spirit realm in order to weaken it in the natural. Whatever you kill in the spirit realm, you can kill in the natural. So I will leave my body home and astral project myself into different boroughs, different regions, different states, different countries. And as I follow the neighborhood, I would speak curses into the neighborhood, speak things that I wanted to happen into the neighborhood. Sometimes I will go into neighborhoods and I see this group of people in the spirit in the corner praying, holding hands, heads bowed, praying up a storm. And there was no accomplishment in that neighborhood. That neighborhood was sanctified, blessed through prayer. You couldn't touch it. But the other neighborhoods, it was party time.
Around that time, John met a girl who intrigued him.
I said, well, I can hang out with her. She's good looking. And she invited me to church.
She also invited John to meet her parents, who talked to him about Jesus. John found the Christians amusing and harmless.
We had a different system that they had. Their stuff was just kisses, hallelujah, we love you. So I kept coming to church to please her. But I wasn't going to leave people I was committed to.
One Sunday morning, the pastor gave an altar call. John went forward, but wasn't prepared for what happened next.
I said, well, the devil can't touch me here. I'm in front of the pastor now. I'm protected.
All of a sudden,
I got demon possessed. I got them by the throat, picked them up in there, and said, I came for you. And all these big men came out. So he tried to grab me. I was just throwing people around like rag dolls. And then 200-something people got up and raised up hands. Spiritual warfare for a person that would have killed them on a heartbeat. I saw the power of God in the church.
One of the church elders approached him a few days later.
He said, Jesus wants you to have this. He gave me a sweatshirt that said, you're a warrior in Christ. For someone to come and say, this is a gift in Christ. He loves you. To me, that was amazing. I couldn't believe that Jesus loved me. But I was committed to the dark side. I was committed to the demons. I was committed to the devil. And I was betwixt two worlds.
One night, John decided to end the struggle between the two worlds the only way he knew how.
I said, boy, Jesus can't have me, the devil can't have me. The best way out is suicide. In my ignorance, in my shame, in my mind that was so far gone, spiritually drained, very spiritually drained.
John didn't know how to pray, but he began to talk to God.
I don't know what they call you, Jesus, whatever they call you in church. I don't like you. I never liked you. I never had nothing to do with you. I want no dealings with you. I hate you. I don't want to be part of you. I never want to be a Christian. I disown you. If that's going to get you away from me, I will worship the devil to the day I die. I whisper saying, if you are bigger than the God that I serve, then you show me tonight or leave me alone.
John went to sleep and dreamed he was on a subway.
The train was filled with people, and their faces were drained, and we were going somewhere that I know that was not good. And as the train was going faster than light, there was a lady dressed very elegant, and she started talking to me in demonic tongues. I understood the tongue. Traitor, you're leaving us. So I try to get into the middle of the train, in the middle of the people, so she won't reach me. Pop hit. And the doors opened. I ended up in hell.
John stepped out of the subway and into the darkness.
As I went to the tunnels of hell, the heat, it wasn't the heat that you feel on earth. It grips you, and the fear ropes around you. There's no hope. The hope is removed. As I got to a part of the tunnel, the devil came out, bigger and more strong. I've never seen him like that. He went to grab me, to snuff me. This 3-foot cross appeared in my hands. I couldn't understand how a cross would appear in my hand. I never called for the cross. I put it on the devil. And he felt like nothing. He felt like he was a baby. No powers at the foot of the cross.
When John woke up, he was a changed man.
And I knew that Jesus was the Lord. I bent my knee to the cross. And Jesus came into my life.